uh, that basically are interested in this topic. I want to introduce myself and also introduce my partner. My name is Mohammed Sahuba. I'm a pharmacist by training. I am currently the president of our company. It's called Farmore Pharmacy. This is my partner, AAYSP. He's also a pharmacist by training, and we're both proud to be here. We'll try to be as brief as possible and try to have you benefit from our experience in building a professional business. More so, we'll try to use our experience, how we've been able to begin a small business and be able to work our way into emerging into a medium-sized company. So there's a handout there that's page 8, and basically what we try to do is learn from others as well as learn from current available information in the marketplace. So page 8 is something we both discussed many years ago, Mazen and I, and we looked at leadership and tried to digest it first by understanding what it means to be a leader in your own company. And we kept that kind of in front of us as we made progress from our first business. So I just want you to see that page as I will try to relate it to today's lecture. You can move the slide. This is just briefly a quick notes about both of our education and both of our accomplishments in the past. As you can see, we both even though we're both pharmacists, we both came from a diverse background. For example, I began my career at CVS back in '98 and kind of worked my way up as I learned how to manage a small business. I didn't go to MBA school, as Mazen did. Mazen had the ability to attend further education. He worked for major companies such as Johnson & Johnson, Blue Cross Blue Shield of Michigan, and that kind of gave him a perspective of larger companies and how they operate. And when we first met up, I was proudly his mentor, right? I was already a pharmacist and he was still a student. So I asked him if he could try to do something different than I did. I said, why don't you, if you could try to work for a larger company, this way if we connect again, we can both benefit from our experience. And luckily, he did what I asked. More so, he wanted to do that. So, but in any case, I finished pharmacy school when I was ready to go. I did not have time to go to MBA school. My parents wanted to be married. They wanted some money. So there was no time for anything else. But luckily, I began my career in '98, and I was fortunate enough to have also mentors within CVS. And I began to learn about first attaining your own way through a professional, or a better way to say it, I began to learn how to become a better pharmacist first, before I even dreamt about being my own boss, before building a business, and so on. And in 2003, I decided it was time to go on my own. So I began my first business, and a small business, actually a small pharmacy. I never thought it would even go this far. But alhamdulillah, with hard work, and we'll try to go back to slide 8, as you can see, how that relates to leadership. So the first step really was planning. I didn't just basically, sat one day and said, I'm done working with CVS, I think I need to go on my own. No, I sat there in year 2000, and I said, where do I want to go with my next 30-year professional career? Do I envision myself being a regular pharmacist at a regular chain or a hospital pharmacist or whatever the pharmacist careers offer? And it took me 3 years to kind of figure out what's next. And that really relates to long-term planning. It's L in page 8. And also A for advanced planning, because there's long-term. Sorry, that was long-term vision and advanced planning. But the long-term vision was to be on your own, to kind of emerge from working for others and be on your own. So I'm not gonna, spend more time on, but that's, so today we, okay. I'll use the slides, but I'm more of a talker than a slide user. But, this is just to show you the growth of the company. So we begun in 2003 with one location. That's the probably one called Detroit Medical. And today we're operating 21 pharmacies. They expand mainly in the, if you can see the concentration there, basically the pharmacy operation began in the city of Detroit, and as we began to understand the market, we began to explore other neighborhoods that were underserved. But we did not do one thing that most people make mistakes with when they're growing. We did not expand quickly. We will show you why that takes place. So if you can go to the next slide, I'll give some comments. So in 2003, the first pharmacy was opened. And this is where basically you can use some leadership, you can use page 8 to understand some of the things that really we mastered in that first location, which was excellence, perseverance, and sacrifice. Emerging from being an employee to an employer is really probably the largest decision someone can make in a career. Because here you are working in a company. Pharmacist at the time when I decided to leave, the average wage was about $120,000 a year. There was great benefits. There was 401k and other fringe benefits that large companies usually offer. So it wasn't really for the money. It was more of, where do I want to go, and why am I doing this? But the sacrifice is going to be, I'm comfortable where I'm making money. Now, am I ready to be an employer? Am I ready to be responsible for others to earn their wage? Because you're not going to be just providing salary for yourself. You'll hopefully employ others. So we kind of stayed 3 years mastering the skill of running your own professional pharmacy or professional trade. And, even at that time in 2003, honestly, and I talked to Mazen quite a bit because we were not partners at the time. He was asking me, what are you going to go from now? I said, well, we'll just try one more. If it works out, then we could do another one. But honestly, again, we never envisioned that it will really come far off, this part. But at the same time, there was some vision. There was some long-term vision that maybe you could have it. And one more thing about page 8 that you can relate to that is there was some advanced planning. It wasn't just, we'll just go right now and scope out some locations and see if we can open second, third, fourth. No, we actually, in 2006, we opened 2 locations, but at that time we said, we're going to test our model. The vision was that if you can operate a pharmacy and make enough earnings in one location, you can hopefully influence another person, another pharmacist, to join you, where you can mentor him or them. But honestly, this idea has been tried by others in our field, and the success rate was very small, maybe in the 20%. Because usually in partnerships and maybe adding locations, many things happen where partnerships don't work. If the partnership works, usually people argue about money and profit and how they did all the work, you need less of the work. If it doesn't work out, people usually argue about, oh, it was your fault. You're the one that said it was going to work. You're the one that said, oh, I guarantee it's going to work. And from the other side, people usually, so basically there's a high failure rate. So the skill here is basically to not, grow quickly. You have to master your trade. Then, if you're going to plan on expanding, you have to be patient, and you have to make sure your model works. And you have to spend some time sitting back, seeing how you're doing, look back at the year, see what mistakes you made. Why were those mistakes made? What were the factors? Are they do to you or they do to the industry. You have to separate that fact. A lot of people sit there, and I know I have friends in dentistry and medicine and other professional practices, and they always seem to worry about what's happening in the industry. And they ask me, how come you just plan internally and execute without being worried about the whole industry? I say to them, the industry from the outside is not in my control. I cannot control if the government is going to pass a law to do something. Neither can I control Medicare reimbursement, because it's going to affect everyone. In other professions, there's always outside factors that might influence your growth. So the advice here is, you can't stop that. You cannot even let that. You cannot allow that to disturb your long-term planning. You have to plan from the inside and worry about the things you can control. Do something about what you can control. What you cannot control will happen, whether you approve of it, disapprove of it, whether you agree or disagree, whether you did something to be aware of it or not, or to address it or not. It's going to happen, so don't let it disturb your long-term planning. I think I'm spending a lot of time on one slide. Am I? Go to... Okay, so we're going to go to basically the vision to kind of unify the businesses. And again, if I were to pick something that would go along with from page 8, that would go along with that, is basically again long-term vision and influence and responsibility. At this level, when we had planned to open 4, 5, 6, and 7, that's 4 locations in one year. At that time, just for those of you that probably might not know much about the pharmacy industry, to operate a pharmacy, you need a full-time pharmacist. You need a licensed pharmacist from the state of Michigan to basically run the pharmacy and to be the pharmacist in charge. So that factor is a rate limiting factor. This is not, since it's a professional business, you can't expand just because you have money. You have to expand by influencing other professionals. So at this stage here, we really sat down and thought about how can we approach another pharmacist from our field and convince that pharmacist, or play the scenario for that pharmacist, they can join our company and become successful. So really, to influence others is probably the most challenging task another professional can try to do. Because usually professionals are very skilled people. They're very keen, they have worked in the industry, they have a lot of questions, they usually will come at you from different angles, and for that matter, if you're going to propose something to someone, another professional, you have to know your game in and out. Otherwise, just one little thing can just make them say no. They most likely will say no if they're not convinced of the methodology. So that method, your approach method, the way you present to them your information, and the fact that the long-term history of your success is as important. So in 2008, we can say that we also envisioned our company to have one common name, because we began operating under different trade names, and at that level, this is when we decided that maybe it was time to be known to take advantage of our number of locations. With 7 locations, you can develop some brand identity. And for those of you that understand brand identity, it's basically if you brand yourself well, you can use the power of advertising, the power of your name, to bring new customers in. You develop some type of legitimacy in the marketplace where people say, well, I go to Farmore, it's my pharmacy. And that was kind of our objective here, is to unify our brand and to have customers begin calling us by our first name.